1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the High Performance CEO Show, your exclusive insight into the strategies and success habits of the world's top CEOs. I'm your host, Sebastian Schieke, entrepreneur, mentor, and business angel. Prepare to grow your business, enhance your leadership skills, and thrive in today's world. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome everybody for another episode of the High Performance CEO Show. Today, I'm talking to Rowan Adler, and he calls himself a corporate escapee who discovered after a decade of spending steel reinforcement in labs of concrete and structural engineering that this wasn't his thing. And he's now an online marketing and launch strategist, combining his engineer attention to detail. I'm also an engineer, so I can relate to that, with his passion for behavioral psychology and online business. He's the founder of the brand RowanAdler.co, and he loves work at home. He's a solopreneur, speaker and motivator, a parent, lover of outdoor activities, and he's an addict of dark chocolate. Hey, welcome to the show, Rowan.
Self-confessed addict. Yeah, that first phase of admitting that you're addicted.
Yeah.
Addicted. I'm willing to admit it.
That's a start,
That's a start. Exactly.
We actually have a lot in common, I also have an engineering background.
Yeah.
I studied electro engineering a long time ago.
There you go.
I also love the online business world. Online marketing. I even run a marketing agency for 5-6 years. Yeah. I love behavioral psychology, so I'm a DISC motivator and critical thinking person, and so I guess you have a lot to discuss today. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I'm glad to be here, and I'm excited. And yeah, if it's okay with you, Sebastian, maybe I'll start with a little bit of that background. You touched on the fact that I was a corporate escapee, so maybe I can start there and give a bit of background, if that's okay with you.
But before you start, tell us where you're from, because you have a special English accent.
I know, it's a very weird accent. I speak Australian. It's very...
Australian, yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Sydney, Australia.
Yeah, amazing. I love Sydney. Been there a couple of times. Yeah. Amazing place.
Yeah, I love it. It's great. Good place. I'm blessed.
So how did you escape?
Yes. Yeah, well, I'll never forget it. It was a Thursday. I even remember that it was quite a few years ago now, but it was about 3:00 in the afternoon, and I stood up. I stood bolt upright. I just got to that point where I stood bolt upright, and I looked across this sea of emotionally dead colleagues of mine. And I walked over to the lift to my right. I took it down to George Street, and I never took it back up again. And that was my first step out of corporate and towards entrepreneurship. I did end up working for another much smaller engineering business for a few years before I then took the leap of faith and started my own structural engineering consultancy. But each step along the way was the step that I needed to take at that time. So as my journey of life and self-growth and self-development continued, I became acutely aware over the years of my need to feel free. Freedom is definitely one of my biggest values, much like so many entrepreneurs. Don't you think it's just synonymous?
Definitely. And I can relate to that story. I mean, I know a lot of people who went the same journey. And as you said, it's a journey, so every step, even small step, is often going towards a certain direction. Yeah. And also often in retrospect, even when you think at this moment, oh my God, this is the wrong decision, or here I really screwed up, or this happened to me, something which in this special moment in time is for you a challenge. In the long run, it often makes really sense, and it puts you on a journey towards your true destination. Yeah?
Definitely.
And
I love the saying, it's something like you are exactly where you need to be.
Yes.
And even if that is in a state of turmoil or failure or frustration, that is what you need to go through right now, because up ahead, you've got some bigger challenges than this to face. So this is what you need in preparation.
And it's such an important message. And I love to repeat this as often as possible, because many people are in a state of challenge, of a turmoil, of maybe frustration. And listening to these kind of stories, this is where we can share value and where we can really encourage them to continue going.
Absolutely.
And
keep failing forward.
Failing forward, yes. So you failed forward. How many times did you fail?
Oh, countless. But failing forward, couldn't count it. But one of my favorites, in fact, I won't share that story. I'll continue on with my kind of discovery of that whole freedom. And, when I look back now, it seems so obvious to me that when I was the only child in my kindergarten class who was kicking and screaming day after day after day, and so much so that they had to bribe me. I was the only kid in the kindergarten class or in the school that they had to bribe me with a packet of texters if I could show up not kicking or without kicking up a fuss for 10 days in a row. And it took me months to get those damn texters. Or also that, I felt trapped through the full 13 years of schooling, or later in life when I was in the corporate environments, when I just felt totally stuck and frustrated. I can now see that all those negative emotions that I had at the time were due to my value of freedom, being crossed. I believe that when you are doing something every day that goes against the grain of your personal human fabric and what makes you, then it creates inner turmoil that can grow and grow until something gives. Just a belief of mine.
Interesting observation that already during child times you felt this need for freedom, and it impacted obviously how you feel or you felt back then.
For a long time, and it when the penny dropped, when I thought back to, I suppose I was going through a bit of a process to elicit some of these emotions of mine at a seminar or something at some stage in the past, and when that memory came of me going into kindergarten, kicking and screaming every day, I just, wow, it's freedom. I'm a freedom fighter. It's just such a big value of mine, and super interesting to uncover. But anyway, it was about 6 years ago that my fascination for freedom and solopreneurs and success and scalable online business models, and as you touched on before, behavioral psychology, the whole why we do what we do sort of stuff, that led me to online marketing, and a little bit further down the track to online courses and launch strategy. Now, what I've found after working with dozens of entrepreneurs is a common thread. Just like me, they're often freedom fighters. More often than not, they are freedom fighters, but so many of them feel stuck in their business because they're amazing at what they do. They're great experts. They're subject matter experts, and you go, wow, at the sort of stuff they know. But they're fumbling around with their online marketing with no clear strategy or direction or process.
Yeah.
Now, I love seeing entrepreneurs succeed. In my years of watching YouTube videos, if ever I would see an influencer that I'm following create one of those income reports, I would get right in there and like, oh, wow, they're making money from this and from that, and this percentage of their income comes from that. I mean, what even is that they're making money from? That's fascinating. And I'd look into it and do my research, but not everyone was into it. There was often a bit of hate comments in there. When you start sharing how much money you're earning and share anything about money, there's often people who are resentful or jealous or something like that. But not me. I love it. For me, it's total fuel for the fire of motivation for me.
Yeah.
So conversely, when I see entrepreneurs giving it a red hot go, but not really making the gains that they want to see, and sometimes feeling trapped in their own business, it kills me. I hate seeing that. So when sometimes there's entrepreneurs or these solopreneurs who are giving it a go, they have to go back to their original job that they were trying to escape in the first place. And anyway, I've been there and it sucks. So these days I'm committed to helping entrepreneurs and solopreneurs run a 90-day sprint. They work closely with me so they can make a bigger impact, sell more products and services online with clear, simple, structured online marketing. And that's what I share through my TTO framework, traffic, trust, and offer, which is just boiling it down to the simplest principles. So yeah, if you'd like me to share a little bit on that TTO framework, maybe we can shoot that around.
Definitely. I mean, I like that you say it's a 90-day framework. Yeah. So you're not selling the quick buck. You can get rich next week if you start working with me. I mean, you mentioned YouTube videos. Yeah. And before we start diving into your program, I want to share a small story. I mean, I have a son, he's 14, and he's also watching these YouTube videos, and look at all these drop shippers, they make tons of money, this guy is in hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, and I want to open my own drop shipping shop, and I mean, I love that my son having entrepreneurial genes, and he really wants to try this, but my logical sense and understanding is trying to prevent him from going into this rabbit hole, because we all know you don't do this just by clicking a few buttons and starting a business. There's a lot of work, So I was sort of hesitant for quite a while, But then I thought, okay, just sort it, let's do this, let's create a drop shipping store.
Amazing.
Yeah? So both of us, we started setting this up, and I mean, I know, of course, ways around, where you can find help to get this done faster. But I said, okay, let's do this on our own, let's really step for step, let's set up the shop. I mean, you won't believe how many pitfalls we went through, how many challenges we had, small bits and pieces, which, of course, need to be taken care of, and the learning which my son got from this is priceless. Yeah? I mean, we had so many challenges. You have to follow legal frameworks. You have to get the whole procurement supply chain done. You have to set up the website and all the technical bits and pieces. And the shop is almost finished, yeah. He learned so much from this process, going through all these challenges. And now he said, yeah, Daddy, I mean, you were right, there's so much involved, and all these people selling you the quick buck on the internet, I mean, half of it's just a scam, and I agree, So coming back to your program, I love that you say, it's a 90-day sprint. It's nothing you get done within the next week. So only for the people who have a sensible interest and clear understanding what it needs to take.
And commitment too. Yep.
Yeah, and commitment. So how do you approach when I say, hey, I'm an expert in XYZ and I want to create an online course because I heard that you can help so many people. I mean, money is not my main motivation. I want to reach a large audience. I want to change their lives. And of course, I want to make a small buck. So how would you approach that?
Yep, that's great. And that's what this TTO framework is all about, setting up the foundations, starting from the right place. Because, I mean, there's so many mistakes that first-time course creators in particular make with where they get started. Often it's, I'll just make the course that I think is right and get going, but they haven't set up the foundations. So mistake number one is building without foundations. So as I touched on before, I'm from construction background, structural engineer. And if I ever went out to a construction site and I saw them creating the walls, building the walls, laying the bricks on the dirt, or, leaning up a nice timber frame wall and shaking it into the sand, I was, whoa, stop everything. You stop the job straight away. Because then obviously not building on the right foundations. Like the Leaning Tower of Pisa is cool, and if you're going for that industrial look with the pipes and the cracks in the wall, cool, no worries. But to build something strong, reliable, future-proof, like a house or a business or a course business or something like that, then you need to build it on foundations. And the foundations at the first level are an audience. Having an audience, having a relationship with that audience, and gaining insights from that audience. So if they are stuck or if they're starting from scratch, wanting to, as you said, they're coming to me saying, I want to create this course, I want to make a bigger impact, then the first step I would recommend is, well, the very first step is having a think about, your niche and your ideal clients and your avatar. But beyond that, starting to build some traffic, growing your audience. So I don't know, have you read Pat Flynn's book, Superfans? It's quite a good book.
No.
Yeah, it's not a bad book. It's it's building superfans is actually one of the biggest things that in online business that so many of the courses I have taken seem to overlook. And so I think it's a really important aspect, not just having an audience or growing an audience, but having a relationship, a strong relationship with that audience. And some people do it incredibly well. So in his book here, he talks about the triangle of fandom where down, it's like a pyramid where down the bottom, you've got the biggest band of people. They are your casual audience. Then the next band up are your active audience. Then you're getting closer to the top with your connected audience. And then the little triangle at the top are your super fans. Now, we all start from the same place. I love to think about how many fans did Ralph Lauren of fashion fame have when he was in the US Army? 0. Or how many fans did Oprah Winfrey have when she was a co-anchor for the local evening news? Or how many fans were there of the brand Virgin when Richard Branson started his first magazine called The Student Magazine? None. Yeah. So they all started from scratch. So the first, you need some traffic. You need some of those base level casual audience members. Just the casual audience members are the sorts of people who stick their head in, have a look at what you're doing. Sometimes they leave, sometimes they stick around and want to gain a little bit more. And that the whole idea is to move them from a casual, the person sticking their head in, to your active audience where they'll give you their email address. They might even connect with you if you put in a bit of effort with them, to your connected audience who they'll talk to you, they'll chat to you, they love it. They'll even talk to each other and possibly even create their own name for the group, such as Gary V's V Nation or Funnel Hackers, Russell Brunson's Funnel Hackers, that sort of stuff. And then you've got your super fans who are just raving fans and buy everything, share everything, all that sort of stuff. But first you need casual audience members. That's where we all start at the very baseline. So where do we get traffic from? The 3 B's of traffic: built, borrowed, and bought. So back when I ran one of my first brands, Love Work at Home, I was building traffic, and I was doing that by creating blog content marketing, creating blogs, creating YouTube videos, and a little bit of social media. It was all building. I was putting in a lot of energy and effort, putting content out into the world in the hope that the algorithms would work with me and my what I was sharing and bring some audience members towards me. For Rowan Adler Course Creation, my current brand, I still build. Borrowing. So borrowing an audience are things like working with joint venture partners, working with affiliates, guest blogging, being a guest on a podcast like this. And then there's bought. The 3rd B is bought. So that's just basically running paid ads, paying for ads, traffic that way. So one of the keys is that you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. I know of a guy who, he tells a great story about, he was in this fitness industry. He got a new business coach. This business coach was saying, you've got to post 4 times a day, 5 times a day, 6 times a day, all these omnipresent, blah, 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 doing all this stuff.
I think it was 9 times a day.
9 times a day on 27 channels. And he thought, okay, this is overwhelming, but he did it. He built himself a good fitness business out of it and made success from it. Further down the track, he switched over to the mental health niche, some sort of therapy that he was doing. And he thought, okay, I'll just do what I did last time. Did exactly the same strategy. Crickets. Nothing came. Nothing worked. And he thought, this is so strange. So anyway, the moral of the story was that what works for one person, one niche, one avatar, one offer, does not necessarily work for the others. We all want our piece of the traffic pie. Imagine actually in Holland, if someone says, I feel like some pie, what does that mean? What does that look like? Is it a thing at all?
Well, I'm not from Holland.
Sorry, I thought
I'm
Where's home?
Germany.
Germany. Sorry, I don't know why I thought you were from Holland. Sorry, in Germany.
No worries. I mean, I consider myself a European, so I'm at home everywhere. Actually, a world citizen. Yeah, I would rather I would love to have a world citizenship. Yeah, for people who are like to travel, like to live with different nationalities, and
Absolutely.
But I'm not sure about the pie in Holland.
When
Teach me.
was it Frankfurt?
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, what's pie in Germany?
Well, it's pie is something to eat, you know.
Is it a sweet thing, a savory thing?
It's a normally sweet thing. I would
Sweet.
say.
Okay. Yeah, we're strange here in Australia. I think the English have their pot pie, and in Australia we call a pie. It's got meat inside, or often meat or veggies. It's a savory thing. We have it for lunch or for dinner or something like that. Anyway, I digress. We all want our piece of the traffic pie.
Yeah.
Now, think of the three Bs as three, 1, 2, 3 prongs of a fork. If you're just using one traffic gaining strategy, trying to dip your single pronged fork into a piece of pie, you're not going to get very much. 2 prongs, better. 3 pronged fork, now you're talking.
Yeah.
Obviously, in the starting point, for the audience members who are listening, who are back at the starting blocks, yes, just get started with one traffic source, building it, or borrowing it, or buying it. Although I wouldn't recommend starting with. Also, consider you're at the whim of an algorithm with basically any traffic source, and I'm going to expand on this in a second, and why we want to be getting. I'll expand on that in a second, but. To my building a house analogy, I mentioned before people were laying bricks or putting up some walls on the dirt without the foundation. So I want you to think of traffic, the eyeballs, the minds of the people who are out there looking at your content or your ads or your podcast or whatever. They are the materials that get delivered to site. There's some timber over there, some concrete, some sand, some water, some bricks, whatever. But we have to do something with these materials. Otherwise, we're just in a messy construction site. So mistake number 2 is thinking that email marketing is not critical. So if traffic are the building materials, then email marketing are the blueprints. They're the plan drawings that we use to turn these materials into solid foundations. Now, obviously, we wouldn't want to be building a house without drawings. In a similar way, we don't want to try to build a business without email marketing. So step number 2, we've trust, traffic, trust, offer, traffic, trust, offer. You're going to hear me say that a lot. You might have heard the expression, tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them what you told them. So I'm going to repeat this. I'm going to beat it into this microphone until it breaks. So traffic, we've covered traffic. We've got the 3 Bs of traffic, built, borrowed, and bought. We're now assuming we're starting to build some traffic and we're starting to build some audience members. Now we want to start building trust with those audience members, because we've all heard of people buy from other people they know, like, and trust. So
Trust, yeah.
Everything is borrowed land, and at the whim of algorithms, our posts, our blogs, our ads, our everything, there's algorithms behind all of it. I once had a business coach who taught other coaches, consultants to grow Facebook groups, have an open Facebook group, have a closed Facebook group, one feeds the other. That was one of the cornerstones of his kind of strategy on how to build a business.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went along with it, learning. And one day he sent out a messenger message to a whole stack of us and said, I've actually lost access to my main Facebook group, so I've started another one. And I just thought, hang on, you're teaching us to build this sort of stuff and the rug can be swept from under our feet like that? This is nuts. I can't rely on this.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've heard of people who have lost access to a profile or a site before. Have you ever lost access to any of your profiles or sites? Or
Yeah, I think we did, just for technical reasons. I mean, I heard stories where people lost access to Facebook groups, Facebook profiles with thousands of followers,
Big time.
which can destroy your business.
100%.
So I completely agree. I mean, what is your own territory? Yeah? What is your own land? And this is where you should invest. Everything else, I like this expression, borrowed land, which really describes what it is. It's not yours. And if you build your business on a Facebook page, well, I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you make, could be gone tomorrow.
Absolutely. And sometimes it is, and it's scary.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, do we want to be building our homes on borrowed land? Do we want to be building our businesses on borrowed land?
No.
Now, in terms of trust, I'll share just a couple of quick stats because I know I really want to hammer home to people because I find this is one of the biggest sticking points, often is one of the biggest sticking points with new clients when I work with them, is that they're not really into email marketing. They don't really see the value in it, don't really see the importance in it. So some people are a bit more data-driven. So just for those people, those audience members who might be listening, a litmus report shared called The State of Email, their full edition, found that 77% of marketers say that email is one of their 2 most effective marketing channels. So the majority of online businesses and marketers are leaning on email marketing. The Direct Marketing Association found that you can expect to get a $42 return on investment. So for every $1 you spend, you can expect a $42 return on investment. I don't know how they come up with those numbers, I've got to be honest, but I've heard that number or a similar version of it from several different sources. In terms of engagement, Opt-in Monster, who is a software company, help people create landing pages. They found that the engagement rate on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram is less than 1%, 0.58% versus the open rate for emails across all industries. If someone opens your email, there's some level of engagement there, which was just shy of 23%, more than 22%, 22.86% they report. So just a couple of stats there just to show that email is important. It's critical. And personally, when with the various people in the online marketing world that I hear, and when I hear about either their income reports or just talking about their business, time and time again, I hear them saying, all my money is made from my email list. So I hope I've hammered that home. I've beaten that one to death. And the reason is, I did have one client in particular who just didn't want to take it seriously, just saw it as a chore and didn't want to shift her mindset about it. And in the end, I just said, listen, I'm sorry, but unless you're going to take email marketing seriously, and it doesn't have to be like, it has to be so serious, but just an awareness that email marketing needs to be a strong part of your overall strategy. And I said, I'm sorry, I can't work with you anymore. So trust. Email is where we build it. Traffic, trust, and offer. Trust. We want to add value. And I like the definition of adding value because you hear a lot of people throwing around add value, just add some value. I like that adding value is giving something new, something that someone hasn't seen or heard or thought of themselves. So 2 tips for adding value, just very quickly. In terms of email or even your content, it might be your social content or your blogs, is an acronym I heard is TASTE, TASTE. Teach, awareness, sales objections, trigger, and entertain. So if we're creating content that does all those sorts of things, and I can elaborate on them, but I won't just for the moment unless we want to double back to it. Basically, the whole idea is we're hitting different mental triggers with the people who are consuming the content because people react differently to different mental triggers. Some people, when you present scarcity to them, they're, I'm running out of time to buy this thing. Okay, and they freak out. Other people need to be taught something on a really granular level to see that you're the authority. Other people just have objection after objection. And so if you can overcome some of those sales objections in your content before it even comes to making the sale, then, you'll be leaps and bounds ahead. And number 2, the second tip for adding value is what I call wakey, hands off snakey, which is a bit rude. So do you, Sebastian, have any emails from certain people that you always open? You just, whenever you see the email in your inbox, you always open it?
Well, I have to admit, I'm very bad at following up on email. Yeah, I have different channels of where I'm more responsive, for sure. But there are certainly people and companies I trust, and I open the email regularly. Yeah, things which interest me, things where I know that I get value. Yeah, and not just being sold.
Yep.
So yes, I mean I agree. Email is an important tool, and email is an important tool, but it's also a tool which is neglected often by business owners. Yeah, they not put enough time and effort into this, and I hope after this conversation it changes some. I mean, it some people will wake up and realize that, hey, I haven't sent a value email out for a while, so maybe let's look into this.
Yep, for sure. Yep, and it doesn't have to be really complex or hard. I've found myself in the past going, I need to send that email, or even if it's just once a week, I have to send that email. It's fit it into my to-do list. And nowadays, I've actually adapted to how I'm creating it, and I find it fun. And it's a bit of, I won't dive too much into it, but my question for the listeners also is, whose email do you keep opening? What's the content in those emails that you keep opening? I know that I've got 3 different people that send me emails, and I know that it's going to be good. I know that I'm not going to get pitched, and even if there is a pitch, it's done in such a nice way that I'm actually, wow, that's great. Well done. I want to buy your product. I'm not going to, but I could right now. So anyway, the wakey, hands-off snake is like, pay attention. These emails that they keep opening, what's in them? Why do we keep opening them? What is it that you like in them? I'll bet that they are probably a bit story-based. They've got some story aspects to it. And I'll bet that they are not screaming, buy my stuff. Yeah. Study them, model them, and take what you can from them. Notice if there's a story, a transition, and then into an offer. That's a beautiful way to think of it. Now, trust. We've got this trust. We've built some traffic. We've got some trust. We've been adding value. This is where the law of reciprocity comes in, and we can ask for something in return. We can ask them a question. We can survey them. We can jump on a call with them, run a focus group, and just ask them some questions like, what are your 2 biggest challenges in relation to enter your niche or the problem you solve? What are your 2 biggest goals? What's your vision? What's with that problem? Why was that a problem? And what does that mean for your broader life? What are your fears? What do you want to do in the next 12 months? By gaining all these insights, well, we add value, we build trust, we're gaining some insights. With these insights, we can actually add more value. And when we're adding more value, we can build more trust, we can gain more insights. It's like this virtuous cycle of just gaining more and being able to help more and more.
Yeah.
So, mistake number 3, creating before selling. I remember when I first heard of the concept of pre-selling, I just thought, what? You sell something before you create it? That sounds so dodgy. It sounded so illegitimate to me at the time. But then afterwards, I thought about it for a couple of weeks or months or whatever, and it's actually pretty common. When you think about your insurance, you're paying for the hope that they're going to pay you out if something goes wrong.
Yeah.
Even a gym membership, something as simple as a gym membership, you haven't used their stuff yet. You're paying to be able to use it. Your movie tickets, you're buying that before you see the movie. That's pre-sold, or pre-sale event tickets. That's a pretty common thing. Even the last car I bought it and had to wait 3 months for it. And one of my favorites is pre-bought funeral services. Paying off your coffin. Yeah, totally. Paying off your coffin and funeral before you die. For some people it makes great sense, and that's all good. But what if there's a recession and the funeral company is looking a little bit shaky? Some people would be thinking, I better die before that company does. I'm already $4,000 deep with them. So, yeah.
Or what happens when I live so long that I could have put this money on a bank, and made more than just waiting 20 years before I finally die.
Totally, yeah. I paid off my coffin 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I could have the primo coffin by now.
Yeah, no, I mean, this, I completely agree. I mean, I've been there 15 years ago, probably. I wanted to develop a new service, and I hired a marketing person, and we crafted all this plan, and then we created all the assets. And back then, everything was on paper. I had a paper email, not a paper email, paper mailing list. Yeah, so I was sending newsletters in paper format out to people I knew.
Nice.
And I invested tons of money. Yeah, I made no dollar at all. I created everything before I put it out on the market, realizing no one wants that, So great learning, cost me a lot of money, but hey, I mean, I haven't repeated this mistake again.
You failed forward.
I failed forward, exactly.
Yeah, totally. It's step number 3, just to try to round out the traffic, trust, and offer framework is your offer. Build the traffic, we've built trust, we've gained insights, we understand our people and what they need and what they want, and now we have the offer. So there's so much to an offer, but in terms of just pre-selling and validation, in my opinion, pre-selling is the number one form of validation. Because when you have done all the necessary things to get people to the point where they're metaphorically, pulling out their credit card, which I don't even do that these days. I just tend to just push a number, and all of a sudden my credit card details are flying up on the screen. Like, hey, who's watching here? But when we are getting people to the point where they are ready to part with their hard-earned money for something that we are offering, that is like the best validation. Now, Dropbox, you might know the file sharing. In fact, we all know the file sharing company Dropbox.
Yes, of course.
Yep. Yeah, they were founded in 2007 by Drew Houston and Arash Ferdowsi. And it didn't kick off with a bang like most startups don't. None of them, they were trying to raise capital, and they were going into meeting after meeting with their venture capitalists, and the venture capitalists kept saying to them, the market space is crowded, and it's already got a lot of existing products, and none of them are making very much money, and the problem isn't a very big one. So then Drew would ask these venture capitalists, yeah, okay, sure, but have you ever personally tried any of those other products? And when they would say yes, he'd ask, and did they work seamlessly for you? And of course, the answer was always no. So despite that, in meeting after meeting, they kept getting rejected by venture capitalists. Now, 3 years after starting, when they were starting to gain some traction, they were starting to get some funding, things were starting to work out. At a lessons learned conference at which Drew presented, he summed up his experience by saying 3 main bullet points, what we learned. Number 1 was the biggest risk was making something that no one wants. Well, Number 2 was is the advice to get something out there and start getting feedback as soon as possible. And number 3 was know where your ideal client is, know where they hang out, and speak to them, connect with them. So when we're connecting with them, you can make something that they want. When you can make something they want, you can get something out there and start getting feedback as soon as possible. So this is in my opinion, the foundations of creating a great offer. Now, we all know it worked out for Dropbox. They now have a market capital of about $8 billion. But if they didn't focus on validation early on, then like so many others, they would not have made it through the infamous, startup valley of death.
Yeah.
Working with another client last year, and I loved seeing her entrepreneurial brain just shooting out with like fireworks every time we'd get on a call together. And she, I want to create this, and we need to do that, and maybe if we create this product, we can tie it over to that one and link that, and I really think they're going to want this one. And I just let it go, and I just watch her in amazement and in awe, just go, look at that brain, just, she's going for it. Then in the end, she, what do you think? And I'd say, okay, well, Megan, what did the audience say? What does the audience need? What do they want? And she'd go, okay. I know where you're heading with this. Okay, let's reel it in. Every time we'd get on a call, I'd have to reel her in like a fisherman. Now, beyond validation, in terms of an offer, there's so many components to creating that offer they can't refuse. your unique selling proposition, USP, proprietary process, which may or may not be your USP, depending on what you're doing, social proof, deliverables, risk reversal, deadline, bonuses, payment plans, more and more and more and more. So I'll just summarize things up. We've simplified online business. I hope I've simplified online business into the 3 steps: building traffic, building trust. With our audience members, and creating an offer, TTO. With just these 3 simple steps, I find it easier to tie them all together, see how they link with each other, but also to, in a moment of reflection when we're working on the business rather than in the business, reflect and go, okay, things aren't moving forward the way I want them to be right now. Which of those 3 parts? Is it my traffic, my trust, or my offer? How's my traffic? Is my list growing steadily from several sources of traffic? Am I building trust? Am I not just putting value out there, but connecting with audience members and getting valuable insights back? Or have I got those dialed in and I'm now looking at validation, pre-selling? Do I need to be focusing on building out or dialing in my offer? Those 3 nice buckets, I feel it's, our brains like to compartmentalize things. So that's just something that, one way that I like to think about it. And that's what the TTO framework is all about.
Thanks for sharing that. It's a very simple framework, which I think it's easy to understand, which is very important. I think the secret lies in execution. So doing it on a consistent basis, following through, not giving up, having a sparring partner, which helps you reflect and fine-tune steps. And I think this is what you do for your customers.
That's right. I mean,
sparring partner.
Yeah, as you were kind of alluding to, taking consistent action. And as you said at the start of the chat with your son having that realization of there's a lot to it. There is a lot to it. Online marketing, there's a lot to it. And it's inevitable that as we're going along on this journey, it is a journey, it's a path. Eventually we hit a wall and we need someone to talk to, and we need not just someone, but even a group of people to sort of hear what they're doing and their struggles and how they got over it, and learning from a mentor. And so, I won't dive into my mentor program now. Happy to share a resource that people can learn a bit more. But I totally agree that it's consistent execution. It's hitting that wall, it's getting over the wall and going again.
Awesome. Hey, Rowan, we have a fantastic 45-minute discussion. I really loved every tip you shared, every small thing people can put into action. I'm sure even after listening to this episode, people have a to-do list which would lead them for the next probably 90 days, but a couple of weeks to get things going. And if they require additional help, I'm sure they can reach out to you and jump on a call, on a conversation, and you might be able to help them. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. I mean, if they want to follow me, I have this a PDF with 3 of the most important pieces of this framework that I just broke down. I go into more depth, and it's all in an organized action plan that's in front of you. So if they want to take that next step so they can start implementing, then they can, if there's a link, I don't know, in the show notes or however. Yeah,
I mean, if you want to share this framework with the audience, I'm happy to put the link in the show notes where they can download it and have it in a condensed and structured form.
Fabulous. Thank you kindly,
Great.
Sebastian.
Hey, thank you so much for being here on the show. And I mean, if I would be a course creator or want to be a course creator, I mean, I would reach out. Yeah. So, audience,
awesome.
Don't hesitate. Check out with Rowan. I think he knows what he's talking about. Thanks a lot for your time today.
Thank you, Sebastian. Cheers.
Thank you for tuning into the High Performance CEO Show. I'm your host, Sebastian Schieke, and it's been a pleasure serving you. Please subscribe to our show on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your support helps us reach more listeners and create a bigger impact. Check out our website, sebastianschieke.com, for additional resources. Until next time, be bold, be exceptional, be outstanding, be a leader.